That's awesome. Now that song will have a whole new meaning for you.
Yeah, exactly. All right. This meeting is being live streamed. By staying in this meeting, I consent to being live streamed. Anyone with access to a live stream can watch. Got it. Okay.
Did it give you like you had to sign like was there like a waiver or something?
Well, I didn't. So I didn't have to like electronically sign anything, but I had to say "got it," which I assume is legally binding. So,
Gotcha. Right.
yeah,
So the folks at Zoom, they hear us loud and clear. They're
yep.
getting our data while we also produce content.
Great content for our
Mhm.
viewers.
That's right. Hi everybody, welcome back. This is another episode of Moviemood. I'm your host, Alex Van Horn.
I'm John Alberto.
And today we're talking about desert movies and adventure movies, kind of in conjunction with that.
Yeah, I think when we think about movies and we think about the different types of conflicts in movies, you've got man versus nature, and sometimes that just works well in the desert.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's nothing more messed up from nature besides lava than the desert.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that even across all genres of movies, you go into science fiction, you still get desert movies. You have your desert planets and stuff, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But yeah.
Yeah, the desert is great. Like when I think about desert movies and desert adventure movies, like I feel like the desert is really good for movies because I mean, one, there's tons of conflict, there's tons of drama. Whenever you have a character going into the desert, they're always like going to change or going to grow or going to like lose their mind or something. Yeah, and it makes for good cinema. I mean, I could just think about if we're talking about the desert and adventure movies, we could just talk about westerns for about a few hours.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's there, and it's like a character in and of itself. But when you think of a desert movie, what kind of leads to coming to mind for you?
I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, that's pretty clear. I mean, that's like the big, like, big Hollywood spectacle, but also like super great work of art for movies in general. That's like the big desert movie, and also like, prime example of somebody going to the desert to change and to grow and discover themselves.
Right, absolutely. And and you got to see it on the big screen, right?
I was lucky. Yeah, they were doing for a while, and they still are doing this, I guess, with The Godfather also, where they do the 4K fixtures of different movies. They did like a 4K run, Akira Kurosawa, and they did a 4K Lawrence of Arabia and at the Bird Theater, and that was awesome. It was really great. I'd seen it many times before on TV, but seeing it in the theater is really like what it's meant, how it's meant to be seen, and it's very fun. I was like 1 out of 10 people in the theater, but it was still an amazing experience.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was on a plane recently, and they had it on the plane, believe it or not. And I put on Lawrence of Arabia on the plane on the little window of or on the screen on the seat in front of me, and it just isn't the same experience as seeing it in a theater.
No,
so
definitely not. Was that your plane to Africa?
That was my plane to Africa. Yeah.
Oh, so also as movie lovers, we're also lovers of adventure as well. Would that be fair to say about us?
I would think so. I think we enjoy traveling. I think we enjoy seeing the world and having some unforgettable experiences.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Africa is not the place you went was not the desert.
No.
But it was certainly like a different place, a different experience. Yeah, tell me about that.
So I went to Tanzania and climbed Kilimanjaro and went on a safari. Not
Nice.
the hunting kind. That's not my cup of tea. It's
That's
not.
not your.
I wasn't like as Hemingway as I could have been.
That's good.
I was just observing. Um,
Hmm.
but but yeah, so it was such an incredible experience just to one, share with family, but to also get to enjoy the experience of the culture of Tanzania. Meet people that I'll never forget who made the expedition up the mountain possible, and then just see nature at its finest and most beautiful.
Nice. Were there a lot of people that were climbing it? Like, did it seem like a big, like there are a lot of people doing it, or was it a kind of like an isolated experience?
Oh no, there are a lot of people doing it. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and it's really cool because people have to the Tanzanian government works with Kilimanjaro National Park,
Mm,
so the significant majority of people on the mountain are actually guides and porters,
right.
not climbers. So you have this whole team of wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people that you know that are supporting you, and in themselves, a lot of porters on the mountain have dreams of becoming mountain guides and
Right.
get to experience working with those people and stuff like that. So you so while you're having this mountaineering experience, you also get the experience of learning about Tanzanian culture as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So I guess it was kind of like uh I guess I would say something kind of like the Sherpas a little bit for the um Mount Everest, right? A
Hmm.
little bit mountain guides kind of thing.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. And how was the safari?
The safari was awesome. I know this is going to sound very generic and kind of silly, but if you've actually seen the movie The Lion King and seen just how the animals interact together,
Yeah,
like just seeing all these animals all close together, not the fact that they talk, because obviously animals don't talk,
right.
but
Yeah.
but it's actually like that. These animals are in such close proximity to each other,
Wow.
thousands upon thousands of wildebeest and zebras and stuff like that. And
Wow.
then yeah, and then just lions and cheetahs just kind of walking among them.
Oh,
Yeah, it was very, very cool to see.
I love cheetahs. I would love to
Yeah.
see a cheetah one day.
Yeah.
Actually, I've seen a cheetah at the zoo, but still in the wild, I bet it's a different experience.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love adventure. We also went to Spain a few years back, or you came to visit for a few weeks.
Yeah, I came to visit you in Spain.
Mhm.
And you showed me so many beautiful areas of Western Spain. I actually I actually put the amount of walking on trails that we did together on my application to climb Kilimanjaro.
Oh,
They
nice.
they said like what international hiking experience have you had before? And I said hiking through the hills of Western Spain
Nice.
in 2018.
We did some pretty arduous walking. I mean,
Yeah,
we did like
some days.
10 miles a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought Kilimanjaro was like one of the highest mountains in the world, but I was wrong. It's like not. I think it's just it's does it have like a bigger width, or is it because it's like a volcano? Like,
So yeah, what it is it's the tallest mountain on in Africa. In Africa.
okay, gotcha.
Yep. So it's the highest mountain on the continent, and then it's also the highest, what's called a freestanding mountain in the world,
Hmm.
meaning that it's not part of like a mountain range. Like how
Yeah,
like Everest is part of the Himalayas, or
right.
yeah,
Okay, that
yeah.
makes sense.
Hmm.
And I guess Africa kind of has a low level. It has kind of it's like parts of it are like below sea level, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, so you're going up to so at the top of the
Giant.
mountain, you're at 19,000 feet, which is very, very high. I mean, that's 3.5, almost 4 miles above sea level. So
Wow.
it's pretty significant. But yeah, I mean, and then you've got in that same country, Tanzania, you're right next to the ocean as well. So you're going all the way down to sea level,
Mm.
in areas like Zanzibar and stuff like that.
One movie that makes me think about kind of a smooth digression back into desert adventure movies is the Australian movie Walkabout. Did you feel like it was kind of a walkabout of sorts, getting to go to Africa and travel and
Yeah, I think so. Because I mean, and then going back into the mountain aspect of it, Kilimanjaro isn't a technical climb. So
right?
there's not a lot of, like ice picking or anything like that you have to do,
Yeah,
or really significant climbing, like with like your hands and stuff.
yeah,
So it's more about the day to day and the experience of the trek itself. So yeah, it is kind of like that walkabout aspect to it.
nice.
You have a destination in mind, which you don't always have with the walkabout. Kind of. Well, sometimes when I think of a walkabout, I think of just like exploring the area. I think one of our guys, Herzog, said just to walk X
Walk
miles
the
a
earth.
day. But
Yeah, his homework was to walk 200 miles and then write about it.
how are you doing on the assignment?
I was looking back. I've had to cut down on my running because I've been doing this new workout. It messed up my foot. But I was just looking at the amount of running I've done. I think I've accomplished that in the past few years. So
Good.
I can check that off the list.
All right. Now you have to write about it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah, you
See
can
a lot of
absolutely
interesting
do
stuff
that.
on running. Yeah. What are some other desert adventure movies? One of the big ones. What's another one that comes to mind for you?
One of the ones that comes to mind for me, is one that I actually watched very recently. It came out in the 90s, and I just watched it and decided it was going to be one of my favorite movies, and that is the English Patient
Oh,
with
nice.
with Ray Fiennes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one yeah, that's a good one. I always forget about that one. I feel like that definitely has some Lawrence of Arabia, David Lean vibes.
Oh, very much so. And it's
Yeah.
what it has that David Lean didn't offer is like it has a very romantic element to the desert as well. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
guess
but
it's more like from Dr. Zhivago, I guess.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, both of those movies, Lawrence of Arabia and The English Patient, are heavy, long, and arduous movies to watch. But that's okay. They're
True.
great. They're
Like
great.
that's like
But it's like
walking.
the desert. It's like trekking through the desert.
That's why they make them 3 hours long,
That's
because
right.
it's a long experience to walk
Yeah.
through a desert.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the English Patient. It's got an awesome cast as
It's got
well.
a terrific cast. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I think Colin Firth in one of his earlier roles was in
Mhm.
there. Yeah,
Willem.
and yes, Willem Dafoe is in that. Well, so kind of a tangent here. Willem Dafoe is in everything.
He is in
Um,
every and in everybody's movies.
and
Yeah.
and he's great. I love him. I was watching Nightmare Alley the other day, and he was
Yeah,
yep, he was there. So
that's right. Yeah, he had a good stash in that one.
yes, he did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good one. Yeah, that's a good desert movie. There's so many. I wrote down a list. So do we want to go in more like the artsy fartsy direction, or do you want to go in the more commercial fun vein? What do you think?
Well, I think we can certainly do a little bit of both. Because I was making my list of desert movies too, and we got our English Patients, we got our Lawrence of Arabias, but we also got our
Mhm.
1999 The Mummies. So
Yes. I forgot about that too. Oh man, yeah, that's such a good movie. That's
yeah,
Brendan, that's peak Brendan Fraser.
that is peak Brendan Fraser, and it's I think probably from the time I was 7 years old to the time The Dark Knight came out, that was probably my favorite movie ever. to tell the truth.
I hadn't seen it till like I feel like maybe 5 years ago, and I saw it and I was like, oh my god, this movie's awesome.
It's fun, isn't it? It
It's so
is.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's in that vein of like I was gonna talk about, of course, like Indiana Jones is a big, also has a lot of Lawrence of Arabia stuff, but is also a good example of a desert movie, and the Mummy kind of falls into um that kind of Indiana Jones Lovecraftian vibe a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Indiana Jones. I think it was, inspired by kind of those Western serials. And you alluded to the point that, you could talk for hours about Westerns in the desert.
Oh yeah.
But, and then when you watch Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, it's very clearly influenced by Indiana Jones. It's got some of the humor and some of the, I, I don't know if it'll stand the test of time like Raiders of the Lost Ark will, but it certainly has a place on someone's watch list for sure.
For sure. I'm just imagining all the times where like he sees like beetles coming after him, and Brendan Fraser's like, "Oh man!" Like,
yeah,
very,
he really was a gem in the late '90s, man. Like,
yeah.
George of the Jungle, Blast from the Past, The Mummy.
I haven't seen Blast from the Past, but as a kid, I did watch George of the Jungle like religiously. So
that's a good adventure movie. Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
yeah.
But the jungle is a different
The jungle's a different beast.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Full of I'm not going to go into the Herzog speech. But another one kind of in that same vein that along with the Mummy, one of my personal favorites is and probably won't, I don't know if it'll stand the test of time like Raiders of the Lost Ark, but Sahara with Matthew McConaughey.
That's based on a Clive Cussler book, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Yeah,
for sure. Yep. And Clive, in my middle school years, I read a ton of Clive Cussler and Tom Clancy and all that stuff. And yeah, I got really into Sahara, which is, yeah, it's just like a fun, very similar to The Mummy, just like a fun action flick in the desert in the Sahara.
yeah. I have not seen it, but I've only heard positive things, to tell the truth. So I I think it's definitely on my watch list.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Matthew McConaughey before like Matthew McConaughey was this renowned actor. Like this was before True Detective and like Dallas Buyers Club and stuff like this. This was like Matthew McConaughey at his peak, like
romantic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, he hadn't gotten into his serious phase where he did like True Detective and Interstellar. But he was, kind of like he was either like in these very light-hearted adventure movies or he was in romantic comedies.
Romantic comedies, yeah. Now, can we count Interstellar as a desert movie? I'm thinking of the Arctic desert where they find
Yeah. So that's true. I was thinking also about there are a ton of Arctic desert movies, like, well, Encounters at the End of the World for one, but also The Thing that, have kind of a similar, like, there are some Western aspects to them, but I don't know. I guess we could count, if the ice thawed, then it would be a desert technically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the things about desert movies, even when like, even in Lawrence of Arabia, when he's, starting with his, team of soldiers or whoever he's with, and the English Patient where he's a pilot. Eventually our protagonists become isolated in the desert, and so
Yeah.
I think kind of that theme of isolation works for the Arctic desert or even the sea as well sometimes, like desert islands and stuff like that.
I was looking up desert movies and I realized that like Jesus movies are also desert movies. Like especially the big like epic Ben-Hur and just his like going into the desert to be alone and to what was it, 7 days and 7 nights or something, or I can't remember. He went into the desert for a certain amount of time.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. Movies like The Last Temptation of Christ, and he's uh he's kind of dealing with his personal demons in the desert as he's fasting, and he's also dealing with Harvey Keitel, um but
As Judas.
as Judas in one of that's another Willem Dafoe movie. He's everywhere.
True.
Yeah. um
David Bowie is the best part of Last Temptation of Christ. I'm just gonna put that as a fact.
that Last Temptation of Christ is a good movie. It's worth the watch. Yeah.
Yeah, just to see like David Bowie as a Pontius Pilate is pretty staggering.
Yeah, for sure. And then yeah, absolutely biblical movies. You've got your Ben-Hurs, which I know we both very much like.
But yeah,
Yeah. Exodus, the Ten Commandments, Exodus, Gods and Kings, Prince of Egypt, our Moses stories.
oh, Prince of Egypt. Yeah, it's one of the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. It really is one of the best. Like,
Yeah,
like we joke about Exodus, Gods and Kings, but the Prince of Egypt is a fantastic movie.
it's a banger for
It's
sure.
beautifully animated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a bone to pick with you, John.
With me,
Yeah.
what did I do?
So, I was gonna talk about Mad Max. And what are your thoughts on Mad Max?
Dude, I'm trying, man. I'm trying my best. It's just it's not my thing. I want to like it so bad. I truly do with all of my heart. I want to like it, and I'm like, it's not my thing.
Did you watch
But
Road Warrior?
no, I watched I've seen the first one. I've seen
First one's not that good, personally, I think.
okay. I've
Yeah.
seen the bits and pieces of the third one, which I've heard is like really
Mhm.
bad.
It's all right.
And then I saw Fury Road, which I like Fury Road. I do like Fury Road because I like Tom Hardy a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Hardy over Mel Gibson any day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Warrior is worth a watch. It's the best of the Mel Gibson ones. You should definitely check that one out. That's the best one. The first Mad Max and the third one they're not as good, but the third one is better than the first one for sure.
Did it kind of start getting buck wild, like hardcore desert movie with like the second one or the third one?
I mean,
Okay.
it started getting good with the second one. I think the Mad Max, the first one, is kind of weird because like also Mel Gibson had like a weird accent for a while, kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you like can't really understand what he's saying a lot of the time. So that's a weird one. But I mean, it's essential. It's the first one, but the second one is when it gets good.
Yeah. Hey, can we hold up for just a sec?
Yeah, go for it. So as we wait for John to come back, be sure to subscribe, like, and follow my YouTube channel. More videos coming. More mustache. More short films. Subscribe, like, follow. We'll be talking more movies. More cinema. And he's back.
I'm back. Subscribe to Loud Lens.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What are some other? Yeah, Mad Max for sure. I think is essential desert viewing. Another one that we could go off about the westerns, but I think we both really enjoy this one is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
I love The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's I for a very long time I did not like Western movies. And then I watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and it kind of opened up the genre for me, and it made me like a lot of Westerns. So yeah.
What made you like it as opposed to like other Westerns, like thinking about John Wayne or even something like 310 to Yuma?
So yeah, when I think of those movies, like I think of kind of like, posse movies, like a group of people going out on, their horses to, go hunt a bounty hunter or or like go like, find, go collect the bounty or whatever. But,
Mm,
but when I think of, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I think about these three very different characters on their three very different journeys.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Um,
none of them are like they're called the good, the bad, and the ugly, but none of them are like totally like that. Like they're all kind of bad.
they're all pretty bad.
It's just bad.
They're yeah, the bad is the bad, and I don't remember all of the characters' names, so
The
forgive me,
bad
but the
um
bad is pretty bad.
Angel.
Yeah, Angel Eyes.
Yeah.
And who was the ugly again? He was my favorite.
Tuco.
Tuco was my favorite character by,
Yeah.
by a mile.
Oh yeah, he's the best character. He's the best actor in the movie, and he's the heart and soul of that movie.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But I do want to see some of Sergio Leone's other collaborations with Clint Eastwood and
Yeah.
go from there, because I was another kind of tangent here. I was watching a Clint Eastwood movie the other day that I really like,
Which one?
called Mystic River.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I realized that I don't really love Clint Eastwood as a director, to tell the truth. Like, I
Mm,
think the reason why Mystic River is such a good movie was because of the performances and because of Dennis Lehane's source material.
that's
Um,
true.
like, it's an awesome book. But Clint Eastwood as an actor in spaghetti westerns, at least, is just phenomenal as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something to be said. Like I'm always a fan of just presence. Like if you have a good presence, like that's really it. That's like all you really have to do to be like a movie actor. Like Charlton Heston, not really a good actor, but like when he's there, you're like, oh shit, like Charlton Heston's here, and he's just like there, and
Right. It's kind
yeah,
of like if you look at, like, I don't know if this is a bad comparison. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But you look at like The Rock today. Like,
uh,
I don't think The Rock is like gonna ever win like an Academy Award or anything like that. But he's
yeah, you see
just
him and you're like, oh shit, it's The Rock.
yeah, yeah. Like he's certainly got a presence about him.
Yeah,
Or yeah.
sure. Yeah, I don't think I'm a really huge fan of Clint Eastwood's directing either. I'd have to think about which ones specifically I like. His ones from the 70s are real weird, which I'm kind of into. And then he's gotten kind of into his like older conservative phase. I did like The Mule actually a lot. I thought that
Oh,
was
okay.
yeah, The Mule is good. When he's not as serious, I feel like he's good.
Yeah, that's the thing. I always end up watching his movies.
Yeah.
And like he definitely has a gift. It's just it's not. I mean, the
He's
man is 91 years old now, and he's still
yeah,
making like a movie every 2 years. So
yeah, super productive.
so kudos to him. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not dissing Clint Eastwood right now.
Hmm.
But yeah, he absolutely has a presence about him for sure.
Yeah. But like
Yeah.
Million Dollar Baby and stuff like that are kind of overrated.
Yeah, I like $1 Million Baby. I think The Aviator should have absolutely won Best Picture that year.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um yeah, it's interesting that you like that you're into the good, the bad, and the ugly because I feel like as a Western, like my dad doesn't like it. My dad likes like the old Westerns, like the old Western TV shows from the 60s. And I feel like they're more modern and I feel like more people can get with it because it's more like a spaghetti Western, has the like distinctive music and look, and it's like kind of a different thing than like a John Wayne Western or like an American Western.
Right. Yeah, I think with westerns for me, I think sometimes when I look at, like, John Wayne movies in general, it's it kind of feels a little standard to me, and I don't mean to like disparage John Wayne or anything like that.
Really kind of dated. I mean, they're very dated.
Yeah.
They were dated.
Um
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly came out, I think.
Yeah, but like when I think of like westerns that really resonate with me, I think of spaghetti westerns, you know, with their iconic scores and kind of a it's a kind of more modern looking movie to tell the truth versus like a John Wayne movie
For
and then
sure.
movies like Butch Cassidy, which kind of aren't really
Oh yeah.
westerns. They're more buddy movies.
Oh, for sure. But there's still westerns. I guess you could make a case. That's a great one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love Butch Cassidy.
Oh yeah. That's like a yeah. That's a standard. It's one of the classics.
Mhm.
Yeah. Another desert movie that I just kind of thought of is I would claim that possibly maybe this is a stretch, but I think A New Hope is kind of a desert movie a
Not
little
a
bit.
stretch at all. Not a
Yeah,
stretch at all. They I think in every Star Wars movie except for Empire, they go back to a desert planet at a
yeah,
point. So you know, it was Tatooine, and then it was a Jakku in the sequels. But
right. Or I
yeah,
guess you could say Hoth. Let's say
yeah,
Hoth, a desert planet to some.
absolutely.
Yeah, and people go there to. I mean, in Hoth, Luke has to go. I mean, you know, almost dies and sees Obi-Wan, who tells him to go see Yoda. So yeah, it's still kind of following that desert trope of like discovering yourself.
Yeah, having that spiritual journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Um,
One second, I'm checking my list.
no, all good. Yeah. While he's checking his list, don't forget to subscribe to Loud Lens. There's a lot of other great content on there besides Moviemood.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah,
get those short films rolling. Just
I
trying to
love.
keep making stuff.
Yeah, Alex Van Horn is also a composer.
Yeah.
We we know he's a filmmaker. He's a composer as well,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got a talent.
I rip the guitar, folks.
Yeah.
I rip it. Some other good desert movies. I guess we could kind of go off of the Western genre, but I think two movies in particular that are like offshoots of Westerns, which came out in a big time for us, was No Country for Old Men and There Will Be Blood.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And they both are like knockoff Westerns a little bit. They both have like Western elements, but are obviously different.
Yeah, I think you know, No Country for Old Men is kind of more along the lines of a traditional Western movie. You know,
Yeah.
you've got your kind of Josh Brolin character, Tommy Lee Jones is the law,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then and then with Paul Thomas Anderson's There Will Be Blood, it's a little bit more thematic and
Yeah.
it's kind of like when I think of There Will Be Blood and how it would compare to like a desert movie, I think of it more so in the scope of the movie itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the desert, I mean, is really good for that like 16 by 9 or that giant widescreen format where you just like see everything. And you see like all the fields, you see all the mountains in the background, and it just kind of covers all that. And There Will Be Blood certainly has that like just majestical, if that's a word, majestic um cinematography. And so there will be No Country for Old Men. It's just the desert is good for widescreen.
Yes. Very good for widescreen.
Yeah.
Um, speaking of movies that are worth seeing in theaters, what about Dune as a Western movie?
Oh yeah.
Or not as a
So,
Western, as a desert.
yeah. So it definitely has more, obviously in common with the finding yourself in the desert, Lawrence of Arabia, um, also the Bible and Star Wars than probably like a
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, definitely major when I was watching it, I felt like I was getting a lot of 2001 vibes because obviously it's this epic sci-fi thing, but also Lawrence of Arabia, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Lawrence of Arabia will always be the gold standard. That I
Definitely
yeah
about a dude, a British dude who goes into the desert to become one with the Bedouin people and change himself, but he can't do it. Whereas with Dune, have you read the book?
oh no,
Oh, yeah.
that's a
Yeah,
so it's a very long book, and
it's a
I
brick
knowing
book.
me, I have to commit myself to reading, Children of Dune and
Oh, yeah.
all the other all the
You'll
other
have to.
Dune
You'll
books
have to
if
do that.
if I start reading Dune.
Heretics of Dune.
Yeah.
It's six. There's too many. No one's reading that really. Um, well, in the case of Dune, like it is about like there are all these themes of similar to Lawrence of Arabia of colonialism and like this guy coming to the desert, obviously who's from this kind of like a European nation, comes into the desert, meets with these tribes, and becomes their like hero savior, kind of a white savior kind of thing
Right.
a little bit.
Right.
And there were like a lot of think pieces when Dune came out about that. Um, but I thought the movie did a well of being like kind of like being aware of that a little bit because it's a very and the book does this too. It's very dense with like all the info about like the politics going on between the different nations and um yeah, being kind of about colonialism in a way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Lawrence of Arabia is too.
Yes, very, very much so. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah. So what else do we have here?
What were your
Um,
thoughts on Dune? Also, were you into it?
so I was into it. It's not the type of movie I generally pick out. I think
Mm.
I went to see it because I knew I looked at the cast, two, I looked at the
Yeah,
director, and
yeah,
it's a director who I checked out all of his movies. But
yeah.
yeah, I'll absolutely see chapter two or part two or whatever when it comes out. Um, I'm I'm curious where Timothy Chalamet is going to go throughout the rest of the journey.
Yeah, and Zendaya. I feel like she didn't have much of a role.
Yes, I think in part two she will have a much larger role.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the most part, I was thinking like, man, this girl really, made a lot of money to just be like,
She must have so much money.
no, for real.
So rich.
I watched, by the way, extreme tangent. Have you watched her show, Euphoria?
Euphoria.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of season 2 right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm getting sucked into it too. I started season 2, but I haven't finished it yet.
My
But my students were spoiling it for me. I was like, guys, shut up.
there are middle schoolers watching Euphoria.
Of course. Yes. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
You watch it and they're shocked. I'm like, guys, I'm 29. I can watch.
I'm shocked.
I'm not 13. Like, yeah, it's a rough show, but
It, they are going through some seriously traumatic events for high schoolers.
oh yeah,
That's quite the drama.
yeah. I was like, dang, I thought I was edgy in high school.
Yeah, those are some edgy kids.
Yeah, I know. It's because they're from
Yeah.
LA. So,
Yeah.
what if they like interview like high schoolers in LA? They're like, yeah, that's like,
Oh my gosh, they're also terrible. Like,
they're the worst.
oh my gosh, Cal and Nate.
Yeah,
They're
is it favorite? Come on.
what?
Do you love Nate?
No, he's terrible. I he is handsome. He's a very
Yeah,
handsome guy, but
yeah,
he is a despicable human being.
sure. He's got some very like American Psycho vibes
Oh,
from him. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Gives off serious Patrick Bateman vibes.
Oh, yeah.
No, who's my favorite character? I think I like Cassie is my favorite character.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Fez. I think Fez is my fave.
Yeah, Fez is cool. And what's his
Yeah.
ashtray?
Ashtray.
Is ashtray though? Yeah. No,
Yeah. There's a
Euphoria is
desert.
a good show. It has a killer soundtrack.
It does for
It has a,
sure. Probably
has a
probably thanks to Drake, executive producer.
true, true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, good show though. I'm enjoying season 2 quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a lot more there's a lot more kind of questioning reality in season 2 versus season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lots of were you getting like about especially the cinematography, were you getting like a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson vibes?
absolutely.
Yeah, like early like Boogie Nights and Magnolia.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I was like, man, this is like, and also they're doing a lot of especially at least the first episode of season 2, lots of Goodfellas references.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just with the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no deserts in Euphoria except deserts of mental illness.
Mm.
Mm.
That was an excellent segue. And
So a few of them could use a trip to the desert. Let's put it that way.
yes. All
Um,
right.
what's some other desert movies?
Some
I got a
other
few.
some other desert movies. I think of the first and the third Indiana Jones movies come to mind for
Oh
me.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Not so much Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom is great, but
The jungle.
it's not really a desert movie. Yeah, it's a jungle movie for sure.
Can the jungle be a desert? Can we say it's like a desert in a way?
I think what we're learning is that anything can be a desert.
Any kind of like the, the desert of a dystopian cityscape.
Yeah.
The desert of
The sea.
the sea. Oh,
the
yeah,
isolation of the sea.
for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. A desert island, even
Yeah. Yeah.
could be. Mm-hmm. So
Absolutely.
could you? I think you could probably count a lot of Herzog's movies in the like adventure, um, man versus nature kind of deal.
Oh yeah. If we're talking man versus nature, Herzog absolutely
Yeah,
comes to mind. And I think what I like about, the man versus nature conflict is it is so much so it leads into the man versus self conflict too. You
mm,
know,
that's true.
because the desert or the sea or whatever brings out such a test of it puts such a test and takes such a toll on our protagonist.
It's true. It puts them
Yeah.
in isolation.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I think of the movie the movie about the explorers that Herzog made that I can't remember.
Oh, Aguirre, Wrath of God.
Aguirre, The Wrath of God.
Yeah.
And that's a jungle movie. That's not a desert movie.
Oh,
But
well, yeah, no, not a desert movie, but definitely jungle.
yeah.
Yeah,
And Aguirre's descent into madness throughout.
definitely.
Yeah.
Not your most likable character in the movies.
No. Yeah.
Let me check my other desert movies.
Yeah, please do.
Oh, so I got kind of sucked into there was like a list that came out during COVID or maybe like a little after the pandemic. We're still in it, obviously, but when it was kind of starting, Edgar Wright was working on his movie Last Night in Soho, released this thing on Twitter that was a like a list of English movies that Scorsese recommended to him. It was like this long list, and him and Tarantino started doing like a movie book club where they were watching it. And I got sucked into it, started watching all these British horror movies. And there's a few on there that are interesting that are kind of in the same vein. There's one called Ice Cold and Alex. Obviously, I watched it because it has my name in the title. And Six Station Sahara. And both are about like British during World War II soldiers, and they're either being stuck in the desert trying to get somewhere on a journey, or being kind of stuck in the desert like The Thing and being isolated.
Right. Yeah. So I would love to get that list from you, because I think that would be a worthwhile list to work through as I am expanding on things I've seen throughout my life.
Yeah, it's got a lot of the Hammer films.
Oh, Hammer horror films.
Movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
I started watching those. Those are great.
Yeah, they're wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're good, like quality horror movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The British seem well. I think like in a lot of the desert movies, I'm just thinking about this, is like they kind of deal with isolation. Could we say by some stretch that they're kind of like similar to like Robinson Crusoe, or some kind of like Englishman stuck somewhere isolated kind of thing?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I look at, I just Googled desert movies, and one of the ones that comes up is The Martian, actually.
Right.
Just about being shipwrecked and stranded and having to learn the land to survive.
Yeah, making lists of things you have and stuff like that. In one of my English classes, it was a Robinson Crusoe class, and we basically just we read Robinson Crusoe, and then like everything that all these books that were like from it, and like we watched Lost and stuff like that, and it kind of goes. You start to kind of see like Robinson Crusoe on every single story, but also like there are ones that are more specific, like when you have like a man versus nature, man versus self thing, like Life of Pi. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
But a desert island could be a desert too.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I think we just nailed desert movies in general. I think we got it.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything, and this will be the essential listening for anybody who wants to analyze desert films and conflict in film.
Yeah, I want to watch some good desert movies.
Yeah.
Trying to get out of the house. Trying to go to nature. Nature. Find themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that concludes our episode of Moviemood.
Yeah, and thank you so much for checking in, listening, subscribe to Loud Lens, and we'll be back soon.
Subscribe, like, follow,